Hi, I'm Catherine Fitzpatrick, and welcome to Complete PE. The objective of this session is just to make it really clear all of the different resources that we have available on the platform for you to utilise during your training. Each of the different areas on the resource will be open and available to you, apart from the uploading of pupils area and the assessment tool. These features are exclusively available to schools that are using the resource. So to begin with, and this will be the main part of the training session, I'm going to go into our units of work section. Now in here, you'll find units of work from foundation all the way through to year 6. And then we have a Key Stage 3 folder that contains some transition units of work as well. Depending on the year group that you're working with, click into the relevant key stage, click into the relevant year group, select your areas of learning, and you see what Complete PE starts to do is filter down all the different options underneath the different folder headings. Once you're finally happy that that's your unit of work, you'll see a button indicating that you can click into the unit, and then you'll be taken into that unit of work. Once you're in the unit of work, this is a year 3 unit, and it would be exactly the same if I return to this page, if I was working with foundation, working with year 6, all of the units are arranged and structured in exactly the same way. But once you're in here, all of the resources that you need to teach this particular unit of work can be found here in one place. So you won't need to go searching for other resources in other parts of the platform. Once you're in, everything you need is here. Now, each of the units are split into 6 parts. These are your lesson plans. But what's just really important to highlight, and this is an important feature of high quality practice, is that we haven't stipulated any time within any of the plans. You've got 6 lesson plans that make up the unit of work, but we call them our suggested sequences of learning, with the objective being that you will move through this sequence of learning as and when your pupils are ready. What we're not saying is you will cover all of this content in one PE lesson. What we're saying is the learning will take as long as it takes and move on when the pupils are ready. Within each of the planning templates, there's an objective. There's some key questions to support that development of pupils' cognitive understanding and the development of knowledge. Tap into those questions and ask them as and when during the lesson. They're absolutely not a script of things that you must ask the pupils. In the context and structure column, this is where you'll find the suggested activities that will enable the pupils that you're teaching to achieve the success outcomes you can see on the right-hand side. The context and structure will always begin with a show me what you know task, which is also the pupil's warm-up task. This is that opportunity for you to just step back, watch, and see what your pupils either do or don't understand. What can they do or what can't they do? How are you then going to support them through the rest of the lesson? Obviously, if you see that there's a real lack of understanding, then your teaching is going to begin here. If there's a huge amount of understanding there, then the pupils are ready to move on. Now, next to any activity that you see this purple icon, if you click into here, it will bring up one of several thousand learning cards. These cards are there for you to use to provide you ways to adapt that learning to ensure that all of your pupils' needs are met. So in the yellow area, you'll see a way to take that learning back a step and make that learning slightly easier. And in the blue area, you'll see that there's a way to extend that learning and extend that challenge for those pupils that need to be challenged further. The cards will always have some of those key questions again, as well as the explanation of the activity and the purpose of the activity. You can also see that there's a rule at the bottom, and then we have one of each of the 4 domains of learning represented with a key success criteria. I'm going to come on to those just in a moment when we return back to the actual plan itself. But feel free to use these cards whenever you need them, and they look the same. If I go into a Key Stage 2 unit, this is a Year 3 unit, and I click onto one of those cards, they work in exactly the same way. Just a small tip, though, for using them with Key Stage 2, then actually a nice idea that you can do is print some of them off and give them to the pupils during PE. I'm only saying Key Stage 2 because then we know that hopefully those pupils would have the reading and comprehension skills to understand the cards. But pick who you think would really be able to utilise this idea. But the idea is if the pupils have the card, they can personalise their own learning. They can also use the card to peer and self-assess. First and foremost, the cards are there for you to support you to adapt the learning according to your pupils' needs. But obviously, it is another way that you could make use of those cards. Returning back to the plan that I started to use, we've got our 6 plans, we've been through the objective, the key questions, and the context and structure. There's one more item I haven't addressed yet on the context and structure, and that's our adaptive PE cards. If I click here, what I'm actually going to be presented with now is a card that's got lots of ways that I can adapt the learning to support the inclusion of your SEND learners. So a little bit like the learning cards, where we're going to adapt the learning to ensure all of the pupils are appropriately challenged. This time round, it's going to give you specific ways that you can adapt the learning based on the needs of the pupils that you might have in your class. There's a key at the bottom, so you can see that, if I look at the red area, this is going to give me some sensory adaptations. If I look at the green, it's going to give me some physical adaptations. So depending on the pupils you're working with, those cards are going to give you a way that you can adapt that learning further to ensure that absolutely every pupil in your class is included. It might be that some of the pupils that would require this level of adaptation have a one-to-one. So obviously, if you are working with a class that has pupils in that class that might have those one-to-one members of staff supporting them, it might be worth sharing the cards with them as well. Back in the actual unit of work itself, the final column to discuss is our success criteria column. So first of all, there's 2 different colours, and the 2 different colours align with the key that runs across the bottom of the plan. So in the purple area, I'm in an early years unit at the moment. These are the outcomes that I would expect the children to be showing me. And it's very subjective, your opinion as to whether or not they are or are not showing you all of these successes. They do not have to be able to show you everything. It's a subjective opinion. Are they showing you enough of these successes for you to feel that they're working at that expected level? Now, in this instance, these purple outcomes, as we can see from the key at the bottom, align with the EYFS framework. But then we have some red outcomes that are those outcomes we might not typically expect until pupils are in Key Stage 1. So it's giving you an opportunity to identify success that's exceeding beyond where pupils might be, as well as identifying those expected successes. But once again, just to really stress, they are very, very subjective. It's your opinion of what you're seeing. What we've tried to do is give you multiple ways that pupils could be successful. As long as they're showing you some of these successes, then that's absolutely fine. And it's exactly the same in a Key Stage 2 unit. As you move through the unit, you will obviously see different types of success. But again, in the green box, I've got my success I would expect the children in Year 3 to be able to show me. But then I've already got some blue successes because there might be some children showing you some success that's exceeding beyond where you might have expected them to be. And that's just going to be really useful because if they're not showing you anything, we probably need to go back a step. If they're showing you lots of this success, then we know that it's safe to move on through that sequence. The next thing I just want to highlight about the success criteria is the letters that you're seeing next to these successes. Whenever you see a P, it's an indication that this is a physical success outcome. The C is cognitive, the S is social, and the W is emotional or well-being success. So all of our outcomes in Complete PE are whole child focused. It is only high quality practice when we are challenging the whole child through physical education. If we were only to focus on those physical successes, there'd be lots of the children that you're teaching that would struggle to be successful. So if I can't throw my beanbag with my dominant hand, but I'm really concentrating on the task, I'm playing fairly, I've got real belief that I'm improving myself, then that is me showing you brilliant success. The actual physical ability to do this will come with time. So it's really important to stress that high quality physical education is about the whole child. And so that's why you'll see multiple ways that pupils can be successful in our planning. The final part of the success criteria that's really a teacher training tool is that wherever you see a play button, a video will instantly pop up playing, showing you what that successful age-related learning actually looks like. There's thousands and thousands of videos embedded into Complete PE. Sometimes the same video will be attached to multiple successes because that same video is showing us lots of different things. But feel free to use these videos however you feel it's appropriate. They're there to bring the learning to life, to show you what successful age-related learning looks like, but they're a great tool to utilise with the pupils too, potentially before PE, after PE is a bit of a reflection, during the lesson as well, especially if you're teaching something in the hall space. So those videos are there. They're really going to support you if you're teaching something that you don't feel particularly confident with. They're also going to be a great help if you've read through the plan and potentially what you're looking for doesn't quite make sense. The video is just going to instantly bring that to life. So I then just want to come to our time saver icons across the top. Now, the first one, this purple icon, it matches here. This is just where all those learning cards giving you that differentiation, that adaptation layer, will all appear. So if you did want to download them and print them from there, it would be much easier than searching through the unit to find them. The adaptive PE cards, same thing. You can find them all for the unit there. Just one thing with our adaptive PE cards, these are being created as we speak. So as they're created, you'll start to see them appearing on Complete PE. As it stands at the start of the 2023-24 academic year, we only have them in the early years section of the resource, but they will be coming throughout the course of the academic year, so you'll have them to lean on. So if I go to this year 3 unit, we can see at the moment, we don't have them attached to our areas, but we will do as the course of the academic year progresses. The next tab, our Shuttlecock one, is of the equipment. So when I click here, I'm going to be presented with a list of the equipment that you need, assuming that there's 30 children in the class. Then just adapt it accordingly if you have more or less pupils. The next tab is the rules tab. Now in this early years unit, there's not too many rules, but if I go to the year 3 unit, which is a games unit, then I'm going to be presented with a list of the rules that link and align with the learning that we're exposing pupils to throughout that particular unit of work. These won't be the full game rules, they'll be modified. And so it's important just to have a look at them so that pupils can really understand what it is they need to do to really access that social and the cognitive learning in the unit. You can print them, share them with the pupils if you want to, have them just by your side to help you as well. But for each of the different areas of learning, where it's relevant, the link to the school games website will take you to that particular sporting area section. So if you did want to look at some of the more complex rules, the proper rules that children would be exposed to in a competition, then you can. And then the appendix icon is our blue icon. If nothing else, in the appendix, you'll always find a knowledge organizer. This will give you the key vocabulary. This is bespoke to that particular unit of work. But other units on Complete PE, if I just return now to our home page, some of the other units on Complete PE, for example, if I go into one of our dance units of work, then once I'm inside that unit of work, the appendix area will actually give me a list of the suggested music that's going to really help bring that learning to life. Some of our health-related exercise units that you can also find if I go to one of our year 5 or 6 units of work. Once I go into this particular unit, then what I'll actually be able to see in the appendix is that this is packed full of resources because the children are now going to be exposed to some fitness circuit stations. So rather than you having to create those resources yourself, we've created them for you. So I think the message really is before you start to teach a unit of work, it's always worth checking out the appendix for any other resources that might help you. Now, the final tab is the assessment area. This won't be open, as I've already explained. This is only accessible to schools who are using Complete PE. So just returning then back to our home page. So I've been through the units of work. The learning cards are the same cards that you saw embedded throughout the different plans within the units. If you did want to look at the cards, they're stored in their own area here, broken apart into the different units and into the different year groups. So they're all available here. Same with the adaptive PE cards, it works the same way. And you can see at the moment, there's only resources in the early years section, as I've already mentioned. Now, the curriculum mapping area, you have got access to. So if you did want to have a go at designing and building your own physical education curriculum, you absolutely can. What you will see at the bottom of the homepage is that I have got an option the first time before I've actually created any maps to load an example map. And then you can have a look at some of the ways that you could potentially construct a PE curriculum. So this is just our example one here. The advantage of creating a map, even if it was just that you added a few units of work to it, is that rather than then searching for your content on Complete PE, to access one of the units of work, you just click onto the relevant box and you'll be taken straight there. If you did want to have a go and find out a bit more about creating a curriculum, if you go to the support tab that's in the top right of the homepage, we've got a how to use section, and this will play a short video covering all different areas of Complete PE. So this is probably helpful to highlight anyway, that if you ever did forget something that you were looking at, those short videos there are a really good place to start. The subject support area is also fully open to you. Now in here, this is packed full of resources that a PE leader might need, but it's also full of resources that can be helpful to every single teacher. The action planning section contains resources to support PE leaders to create their action plans and evidence the impact of their primary PE and sport premium funding. The curriculum mapping section contains lots of resources that, showcase the progression of learning, the progression of knowledge, all the knowledge organisers in one place. So feel free to have an explore. But the professional development section and the additional resources section, I think that all of you will find this really helpful for me to highlight now. So in the professional development section, the CPD file contains lots of pre-recorded training. So we can see in the whole staff area that there's training, everything from teaching gymnastics to striking and fielding to if you've got to teach PE in the classroom. So you are more than welcome to access as much of this training as you like. And then I also just wanted to highlight the additional resources section, because this is an area of Complete PE that's packed full of resources that you might need to access some of the time. They're not necessarily resources that you need to access every lesson, but things like non-participation resources or resources to support you to teach PE in the classroom. We've got a lot of resources in this section that are going to be really helpful to you every now and then. So it's definitely worth having a look and seeing what's there, so that you're not stuck when it comes to something like a wet weather lesson. We've tried to ensure that every teacher has got everything they need. So I'm now just going to return to the home page. I won't take any time to go through how you upload pupils or the assessment tools, as I've already explained, but you can watch the how to use videos if you did want to find out more. I just want to finish with the other resources that we can see across on the top tab. So the top PE resource and the My Personal Best resource, these are additional resources that you've got full access to. You'll also see these resources embedded into the units themselves. You don't need them to teach physical education using Complete PE, but they will add different types of value to your lesson. So the top PE cards, they're embedded into a lot of our different units, and you'll see them predominantly in the Key Stage 2 units. Wherever it is that you see a top PE card throughout that unit of work, we can see one there. This is just going to bring up an activity that's going to give you a further sort of idea that you could utilise with your pupils. So it's going to give you ways that you can expand on the learning. But the cards are stored in their entirety here on the home page. The My Personal Best resource, also stored in its entirety on the home page, but is also a resource that we have embedded into the planning. And you'll see that when you see the reference of a life skill. So here, social outcome for pupils, can they take it in turns to be the defender? If they can, it means they're showing respect. Highly likely at some point you'll have children that are not taking it in turns to be the defender, and it might be that they're struggling with understanding why that's important. By clicking on the My Personal Best Respect card, it will then give you a card that you could use with the pupils to discuss why this particular life skill is important. For both the top PE and the My Personal Best resource, again, have a look at the how to use videos. Also in that subject support area, in the CPD section that you'll find in the professional development section, there is actually a training session that you can find on My Personal Best as well. But there are extra resources that you are more than welcome to use. The swimming resource, it is a resource that if the school you happen to be teaching in during your practice would like access to some of these ideas, just email us and let us know. We can give the school access, because it is a free to access resource, but schools have got to sign up to access the resources, because they are the swimming resources. And then finally, the notice board. Every time you log on, you might sometimes see a notice appear, and these different notifications could be that we're trying to give you some really important key information or trying to highlight some training that might be up and coming. So the first time you log on, if there is a new notice, it will appear automatically. As soon as you click off, it won't appear again, but all your notices will always be saved in the notice board section. That brings me to the end of this sort of introduction to Complete PE. But if you do have any questions whatsoever, then please do not hesitate to get in touch. Thank you.